We are seeing gold finally lose strength, and what has occurred almost immediately is money is flowing right back into Bitcoin. So in this video, I'm going to go over why this is probably the beginning of the rotation from gold to Bitcoin. I'm going to show previous charts on what happens whenever gold tops. The Bitcoin chart does seem to look at probably the strongest of any asset class in the world after gold has a top. So we'll go over that and my plan, how to ride up Bitcoin, watch the dominance heading into November, which is typically where we see the lowest Bitcoin dominance, which is where we actually see altcoins perform the best. So we'll go over my strategy, coins I'm looking at, narratives, top to bottom, everything I'm seeing in the market today. So without further ado, let's jump into it. Before we dive into the meat of the content today, be sure to drop down below, hit that like button, and subscribe to the channel for more every single day here on In the Game. We have you covered top to bottom, everything you need to know in this market to have an edge throughout the bull run. And of course, a big shout out to our sponsors here on In the Game. We have some incredible sponsors from Nexus, the software we use here every day, 𝗏𝗏𝗏, 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, as well as ZK Sync and Gravity. And if you aren't already using Gravity, first of all, there is a sign up link down below, but I think this is a very under-farmed opportunity for a major airdrop. And when I say this, first of all, I think ZK Sync's momentum before the end of the year is about to absolutely crush. I think their underlying technology and a lot of the things about to come out of the ecosystem are going to be very strong, but we're seeing perps dex wars out there with Hyperliquid, Aster, Lighter. A lot of people are farming these for future airdrops. Meanwhile, Gravity raised $30 million, and I think this is the most under-farmed, high-profile perp dex in the market. So if you want to jump in this and farm this early, like I said, I don't think it's very diluted as far as the amount of people farming this. You can drop down below in the description and check out Gravity in the links down below. Let's go ahead and dive right into it, guys. First of all, we're seeing an amazing recovery in the market. If we were to filter on the daily, we actually see some altcoins that we love here near the top of the list. We see 𝗏𝗏𝗏 finally bouncing back after the mainnet. Their mainnet dip, the sell the news, was absolutely it was pretty hard to kind of hold through that and kind of see that through, but now up 30% on the weekly. As we see here, Belmar had tweeted yesterday even that 𝗏𝗏𝗏 is looking cheap here. I absolutely agree. When it was down in those 30-cent levels, that was absolutely unreal to me. So if you kept buying that dip, I think that this is going to be a very good comeback trade. On top of that, we see Aether up 17%. It took a big dip during that market hit, but I do think that this will recover back to those 5-cent levels. We see 𝗏𝗏𝗏, our sponsors here, up 6% on the daily. We see Xborg up 4% on the daily. So a little bit of momentum, but the majority is on Bitcoin right now, which makes sense. Like, this is the main character. The amount of money flowing into this, I think we have to make sure, and especially from a YouTube perspective, crypto Twitter, it's a running joke on crypto Twitter, but it's true that most people who post about crypto on Twitter or YouTube don't even have any allocation into stuff like Bitcoin, which to me, that's preposterous. If you are in this industry, the one that's going to be here, that's going to carry you and potentially be able to potentially retire you in the future by having allocation is Bitcoin. Like, of course, you can hit big trades throughout the cycles. That's what we're here to try to catch, right? And try to make good gains on altcoins, etc. But that's just the middle ground. I think you have to be allocated into Bitcoin. I actually tweeted this morning, is October. We were kind of dipping early to start this morning. As you see here, these hourly charts, we got all the way down to this $107,000 level. I said, is October still in the room with us, please? And then the very next hour, the green candle that we printed was absolutely amazing. And I love this joke here from 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 on Twitter. He says, babe, why are you smiling? We're back to where we were trading yesterday. Is that a good thing? I really don't know anymore. For me, I think just looking at the outlook in the economy right now, we're about to have easing. People are racing to different asset classes like gold. And literally the other day, there was a line to buy gold outside of, like, I forget where it was, but there was a line around the block for people trying to buy gold at all-time highs. This is what happens. Retail shows up at the very end. So we are still early on this run. Gold falls 6.3%, the largest single day drop since April of 2023. This could be the beginning of the rotation. And ironically, yesterday, 𝗧𝗟 tweeted, Bitcoin will flip gold. I don't know when. It might take some time, but it'll happen. And then as Bacon says here, imagine bro just called the Bitcoin and gold exact top, right? That would be absolutely insane. And we look at the historics here. Bitcoin versus gold in 2022 on the left side of this chart. We see here in July of 2021, or 2020 really, we see here the top on gold was around that $2,050 level. At this point in time, Bitcoin was at 12K. By the beginning like a year after the world shut down here, like March 2021, we were at $48,000 Bitcoin. So whenever gold tops, we do see that rotation begin. And I think that the exact same thing is happening right now. And I don't think we have to overcomplicate it. This is cyclical. Like, as much as I don't think the 4-year cycle is going to matter as much moving forward, I think it will still come into play. We're about a year after the halving almost. Usually that's actually when the biggest momentum does come into Bitcoin. On top of that, with gold rallying, with stocks rallying, I think that money's going to park itself in another asset class. And I think that Bitcoin is definitely a good fit for that as the digital gold. So right now, focus is on Bitcoin. I think that you have to watch the Bitcoin dominance. Usually Bitcoin dominance falls to lows in November, which means that's the best time to potentially allocate into altcoins. As Bitcoin climbs, we're going to start seeing different altcoins start to show momentum heading into November. So my strategy, and I've been doing this for a long time. First of all, I'm lucky to be in Bitcoin since 2017, but personally, I still buy Bitcoin every single day, right out of my bank account. Doesn't matter the price. I don't care if it's up, down, left, right, sideways, doesn't matter. I buy Bitcoin every single day, auto withdrawals from my bank account. I want as much as humanly possible. So that's the way I'm allocated into Bitcoin. I'm just stacking continuously. However, looking down the line here, we haven't had an ETH all-time high. Could be a good time to potentially stack up a little bit of ETH. But for me, I'm looking at Sol. I'm looking at Hyperliquid. I'm looking at stuff like 𝗏. Obviously, the 𝗏 halving is in 2 months. If we do see upwards momentum, we see a new all-time high in Bitcoin over the next few weeks, you're going to see coins with catalysts like this run like crazy. And what I would be doing is trading this into the halving. Usually with an altcoin halving, it's a buy the rumor, sell the news event. So you would want to ride this up until that halving event, which is about 50 days away. We see it's currently sitting at 411. It's down 10% on the week after a pretty good rally, still up 20% on the monthly. But I do think 𝗏𝗃𝗃 𝗏 is a great accumulation at this level. Like I mentioned at the beginning of the show, Aether at around that 3-cent mark, I think is also a great buy, considering the fact that this NASDAQ company here has launched a $344 million Aether digital asset treasury. And they are calling this, they're kind of like their AI infrastructure treasury. I think this is a very bullish catalyst. And for a coin with a market cap circulating of 470, I mean, they are really betting on Aether to grow throughout the time period. They're doing about $160 million in annual revenue, which I think is also a very important point there to take a look out for. Also, 𝗬𝗎 is still down like 33% from last Friday's liquidation event, or, whenever that liquidation happened 2 Fridays ago. It's still down about 33% from those high $3 levels. And when you look, they actually just flipped Hyperliquid index volume. So all of these catalysts, this is where I filter the quality, and I just stack those accumulation bets that I think are absolutely going to pay off if we do see Bitcoin hit all-time highs, dominance start to fall in November. This is the time period for altcoins to take center stage. And the last narrative that I'm really keyed in on right now is, especially for strength, like at the top of my portfolio, like what Aether does, I want revenue generators 𝗕𝗟 does that, checkbox. I also want coins that are privy to putting revenue back into buybacks. Let's look at this chart here. As we see here, the buybacks over the spend in the last year in 2025, we have Hyperliquid, which has bought back $644 million of their own token. We see Raydium doing the same thing. We see Jupiter putting 57 mil back into their own token. Pump.fun doing 138 mil. And this leads me into Solana. I think that Solana is probably about to go on a run. We see Jupiter partnering with Athena. We see Meteora coming into play. And we see here, like what Cooker says, revenue buybacks potentially for Meteora. The biggest protocols in crypto have generated over $1 billion in cash, and Meteora has generated $1.3 billion in fees. 1.2 billion of that went right back to the users, because that's what happens on Meteora. You're farming the platform fees. And look, the top fee earning protocols, more than 1 billion all-time fees. There's only 6 in this category, and that's Tether, Meteora, Circle, OpenSea, Jito, and Pump.fun. So this is definitely a strong point. I would assume they do some sort of a buyback program here, so this will probably check that box. We see Pump.fun. I think Pump is definitely gearing up for a big run here. They've put $140 million back into their token. Obviously, if they ever announce this airdrop, I think that coin's going to go absolutely crazy. So around the corner, Thursday, we have the Meteora TGE. I would not be surprised to see the Solana ecosystem kind of hot at that time period, especially if Bitcoin's climbing. I could see Solana gaining a lot of momentum and liquidity at that point in time. And then last but not least, we see Xborg is about to jump into that buyback ladder, right? So they're about to put about 1 million or 2 million, somewhere between there, about 10% of the current circulating supply into buybacks. So this is a narrative that I think you really can't get enough of. And for me, I would just focus near the top here. Pump.fun, Hyperliquid, potentially Jupiter with their new Athena partnership, and they're also the ones who are behind Meteora. And then I think Meteora is going to be an amazing TGE on Thursday the 23rd, and a lot of you guys should have allocation into this. So for me, I'm more so now sitting and waiting. I've been putting in these accumulations after the liquidation event. I think, first of all, that liquidation event was a clear buy signal. And yes, the market has been choppy since then. A lot of the prices in the market haven't recovered. AVAX is still lower. Chainlink, SUI, XRP, Hyperliquid, Solana. A lot of these coins are still down since that liquidation event. And I think events like that are just simply buy signals. And look, I know there's a lot of people out there saying the bull market's over, this. But to me, that's at this point the consensus trade. Like, I think a lot of people are fed up, and that there is fatigue. There's such a thing as market fatigue, right? You sit in a market so long and you wonder, is this thing ever going to happen? Is it going to, finally pump? Is it alt season? And then you get teased. I think that this patience will pay this time around. And I think that a lot of people are fatigued, calling the top, because what else can you do at this point in time? It hasn't been paying off to be bullish. But look, given history, given the way that gold's potentially topping out, I mean, retail was flooding out of doors at different places to get their hands on gold at literal all-time highs. That's whenever retail is going to show up here in crypto. So for me, I think we could be in for a bullish next 4 to 6 weeks. We will see. My strategy and outlook hasn't really changed. And those are the projects, narratives that I'm really focused in on right now for max upside if we continue to see Bitcoin rally and have similar momentum to what we just saw from gold. So guys, like the video down below, subscribe to the channel for more. Check out our sponsors down below in the description. Like I said, I think Gravity is going to be a great airdrop opportunity. And if you want access to different information, the software we use here every single day, you can trade perps, you can check out the entire market from tokens, NFT, Web3 gaming. But on top of that, I do post market analysis here on Nexus every single week. You can check that out down below in the description as well. So we'll see you guys on the next one. As always, play well, my friends, trade responsibly, and of course, stay bullish, my friends.